Hello everyone, I went to go see Star Wars Episode 9 Rise of Skywalker. Should you go watch it? It's kind of complicated. So Star Wars Episode 9 is the 9th installment in the Star Wars franchise, the third of a third trilogy. So with that fact alone, you should be able to tell why this would be difficult to make. It's already kind of a bloated series, people have a lot of expectations of what Star Wars is, people are massive fans of this, but despite that, we've still been able to see a lot of really interesting content in the franchise, including the core movies, the spin-offs, the shows, everything like that. Episode 7 was directed by the same director as Episode 9, and that movie was pretty good. It was really fun, it was entertaining, and it was actually really good for setting up the trilogy, in my opinion. Episode 8 is my favourite of the trilogy, and it's one of my favourite Star Wars movies that there actually is. A lot of people disagree with that. I know why people disagree with that, it's completely fair to, and I can definitely see why people don't like it being the second in a trilogy. Characters like Luke and Snoke, who seemed very important, and looked like they were going to be used throughout the entire trilogy, dying so early, was probably worrying to a lot of people, and you can tell that JJ shat himself when he saw this movie. But all hope shouldn't have been lost. We had a pretty obvious place to go from. The Resistance were escaping the cave. Since Snoke is dead, Kylo can just take the place of the Supreme Leader, which actually did happen, but it wasn't used as you may expect it to. But this movie now, we can actually talk about Episode 9 now. Why did it do what it did? So everyone saw the trailer, okay? It's not a spoiler to say that Palpatine is back. And that's actually in the crawl text, and we don't actually see the voice of Palpatine being heard, we just accept it from the start of the movie. I think it's actually the first scene. Kylo goes to the underground lair where he is. So there's obviously a big jump in time. Rey spent loads of time in the Forest training in the Force, and she's become insanely powerful. That's a lens flare. What the fuck? That's cool though. Looks pretty. So the main problem that we have with this movie now is the tug of war fight over where the story should go from where Rian Johnson left off in Episode 8 and where JJ wants to go. They're both good directors and they both have made good stories in the past, but they just don't work together. I'm sorry, like that's just it. Okay, if they were in a room with a lot of other people, they would probably like look at each other funny and like kind of try to avoid each other while not making it obvious to everyone else. I won't give a spoiler, but I'll say one big reveal in Episode 8. The way that JJ basically took that back over to his side was by making it like, oh yeah, we said that. There's a little detail over here that I wanted. It's not that anymore, but it's this little part in the corner that you don't actually have to mention with the big part. That's actually really important now. What it felt like was someone just made a statement and everyone was like, whoa, and then someone else comes along and was like, oh, I think what he meant was. That happens a few times in the movie, and it's awkward and it gets kind of annoying. But even then, we can still get a coherent story from here. But we just didn't really. It's so messy, there's so much. This is the third movie in a trilogy, and there are countless new important characters added. And there are like other storylines that happen along the side, and other things that are added onto characters that go nowhere. Like, this movie was 2.5 hours long, and that's pretty long, but it should have been 4 hours long. If we wanted to actually make everything seem as though it needed to happen, as if everything in this movie was like important, they needed to add a lot more to a lot of it to actually make it seem important. Like the new person who kind of takes control of the First Order, I can't remember his name. I can't remember the name of the other ex-stormtrooper girl that Finn meets. Lando's back in it. He didn't need to be. He absolutely did not need to be. You can also tell that JJ looked at the character Rose and was like, I didn't want this, fuck it, we'll put it there for a couple seconds. The Leia scenes, they were kind of awkward, but they had an awkward situation with the fact that she's dead. Carrie Fisher is not alive, she cannot act anymore. They apparently used deleted scenes from the older movies, and that's cool. The thing is, it wasn't even that bad. She didn't really like stick out until there was like just too much, and her dialogue didn't fully make sense. And despite seeming almost like having like a David Lynch level of new plot points added every second, it still feels really safe. Pretty much all the new characters were completely inconsequential. There were a lot of characters brought back, just kind of put into the story for no reason. But of course, there are saving graces, okay? I still love the characters throughout the series, okay? I love Rey. I love Kylo Ren, who's one of the most interesting characters in the entire franchise overall. I think all of the actors, John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, and all of the classic actors, Carrie Fisher, what's his name? Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and all those characters are in this movie, despite the fact that the characters died. Doesn't matter. So we have that. We have good characters, along with amazing sound and fucking sublime cinematography. This is legitimately one of the most beautiful movies I've seen in a while. I know people are gonna talk about how like it's all CGI, so it's not actually there, but it's still all really impressive. There's so much like artistry and thought put into each shot. I think a lot of like the really cool epic shots are really good, and the music. It's John Williams. It's John Williams doing... John Williams is just doing the John Williams-ness. And there's a lot of callbacks to old songs, a lot of new-sounding stuff. It sounds great. So overall, Star Wars Episode 9 just achieved a little bit less than I was expecting to, and a lot less than I wanted. And a whole lot less compared to Episode 8, in terms of its creativity and its impactfulness on the viewer. The dissonance it has with its predecessor, combined with its inability to really explore a lot of really interesting things it could have done, leaves it not really satisfying me. Despite this, if you're into cinematography a lot, if you're into John Williams' music, and you like seeing these characters that have grown a lot over 3 different movies, and you want to see them conclude, this movie will be enjoyed by you. And I still kind of liked it-ish. Oh, if you liked Endgame, then you'll like this movie. If Endgame was like a tearjerker in like how amazing it was, and you, especially in the ending scene with all the fucking people coming into the battle and like one of Rey's final words, if you liked Endgame, this is gonna be good for you, okay? So I'd give this movie about a 5 out of 10. Listen guys, I'm not here to be a man-child about a franchise that I have nothing to do with. That's why I'm still talking about a lot of things you have to take into account with this movie, because there's a lot of care and artistry that did go into making this. I was expecting like a Harry Potter level ending of a franchise, and I kind of got like The Hobbit or something, so yeah. Bye.